You're the God of everything. There's no one like you. No one like you, Jesus. No one like you. No one like you. I say, no one like you. No one like you, Father. No one like you, Master. You're the God of everything. There's no one like you. You're not a man, oh. You're not a man, oh. You're the God who opens doors no man can shut. You're not a man, oh. You're not a man, oh. You're the God of everything. No one like you. No one like you, Jesus. No one like you. No one like you. Who is it? No one like you. No one like you. Abba Father. No one like you. Yeah, my star. You're the God of everything. No one like you. You're not a man. You're not a man who shall lie. You're not a man that you shall lie. You can never lie. Yeah, yeah. You're not a man to lie. Oh, you're not a man. You are God all by yourself. That's who you are. That's who you are. You're the God of everything. No one like you. No one like you. No one like you, Jesus.
Yes, indeed. A blessed good night to everyone locked into Hope 103.1 FM. God is not a man that he should lie. And that's an awesome God. He is the all worthy God of all our praise. Yeah. Want to say good night to everyone tuned into Hope 103.1 FM tonight, and welcome to our program Hope for Men, Men Encouraging Men. You understand? And tonight we want to, just continue with another awesome conversation. And I promise you tonight is going to be relevant. It's going to be current. It's going to be full of information, and you don't want to miss it. So if you're on the outside tonight, I want to encourage you to take an opportunity to, keep it tuned in to Hope 103.1 FM. And if you're a man out there also listening, I want to encourage you to share or stream with another man tonight. Share it with a man. Tell your cousin, if he's a man, tell your neighbor, tell your father, your brother, that Hope for Men is on. Men encouraging men. So let me just get the other set of men tonight. There are some special men joining us tonight. Of course, my brother Trevor is on the inside. Yeah. And my brother Roger is here. These guys are doing some kind of background thing tonight. I don't fully understand. I don't know what going on. Roger, they say it's bad ethics to be on the live and eat. One of my listeners don't like when you do those things. I have to take care of if that is the case. You understand?
I came in with my healthy stuff tonight.
Or you bring your healthy stuff, but you're
Yeah,
hiding between these books, man.
some cantaloupes.
All right. So you're very practical. Well, I have a dietitian here tonight joining us, so he'll say how much better this health stuff you're talking about is, if it is really good. So we'll find out tonight if cantaloupe is good for us or not. And later on, we have a bishop doctor joining us in the conversation. So we have two professional and and us men here tonight to ask them some difficult questions, I hope, for audience sake and for our sake too. One of the good thing about hope for men is that we always learn from other men when we bring them in. So this is our brother here. His name is Akim Williams. He's no stranger to Hope FM. He's been around this side of the block for a little while, and he's just coming back to share some information with us. How you doing, my brother? Good night. Can you
Good
talk?
night, good night. I'm doing pretty good. Good night, good night. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I hear you loud and clear. Good and everything nice in Jesus Christ.
All right, awesome.
All right, great. And I hear no cricket, so we're good to go. So, how was your day? Let me leave you guys. Just tell me how was your day, Trevor? You're mute, man. You're mute. I didn't mute you. You have to unmute.
Sorry. Today was an extremely long day.
Yeah.
Very intense. I had some engagement with some technical people and also some farmers, and you know that could be challenging.
All right, all right.
But at the end, it worked out okay. So thank God for that. Helping to bring all of these minds and issues and come to agreement, which
All
is
right.
not the easiest of task at times.
Right. Nonetheless, God give you strength to go through it all.
Amen.
What about you, Roger?
Yeah, today was pretty smooth, really easy going.
Mhm.
I think coming out of a high from Pawi convocation yesterday might have been the reason.
All right. That's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Uh,
Akim, what about you, man? Akim, what about you?
Well, today started kind of quiet and kind of ended on a little kind of different note. Here trying to see how we can support family. Recently had the passing of one of my siblings, so we're just here trying to make sure everybody's okay. You have to know after everybody leave and go back, and family, the group of the family leaves is when you by yourself and you tend to have to manage you alone, and so I have stayed on a little bit just to kind of give some support. So today was quite
All right.
eventful, I'll say.
All right. Well, God will give you grace, brother, and strength where you need it. So you don't have to worry. My day was pretty swift, I would say.
Thank you.
Not much pressure, but just pretty swift. I prayed and asked God to help it to be, a favorable one, and I felt like that's just what I got. So I'm grateful and I'm giving God thanks tonight. And I'm really happy to have all the brothers with me here tonight. So we are discussing um, a pretty, I would say, a, a, a topic that we believe men should really take into consideration, even though it's broad and, because how the human body is, God made the human body with some commonalities. There's just few things that a man have that a woman don't have and vice versa. But there are many things that a man have in terms of the organs and, the name of the various body parts and so forth. You'll find a lot in common more than you will find those are not in common. So we're talking about culturing a healthy lifestyle, but especially for men. As you know, it's a men's program, so especially for men. And what sense it would make if we go and start a program and don't even start with what the word of God says about health and so forth. I think that's the
Yeah.
basis for all things, and all things stem from there. God was first, then He created man and all the other things that was created. So let's start with this portion here. I'll put it up on the screen. And we're going to chat a little bit about it. And hopefully later when the good bishop join us, we will see where the conversation goes. Let me just drop something inside here real quick. Men, don't forget this Saturday's Hope for Men. Men, let's get active. So men, we walking with Hope this Saturday from the Old Trafford playing field. That's in Tantine. We're going down to Montrouge area. So you want to be, if you want to be a part of it, and I'm encouraging men to be a part of this walk with Hope. This is a third walk, Trevor, or second one?
So third walk.
Third walk, right? So third walk. So it's not the first one, definitely. It's the third one. Looking forward to see Roger walking You know, one of the good thing about this work is that I have to stay on the vehicle and play music. So I can't really walk, but I'll keep you guys entertained with some good music so you could, you know. And unfortunately, my partner won't be here. So, man. But nonetheless, let's talk about this portion here in John, John, 3 John 1 and 1 verse 2. It says, "Dear friend, I hope all is well with you, and that you are and that you are as healthy in body as you are strong in spirit." All right. So let's just chat on that portion here a little bit, because if we're talking about culture and healthy lifestyle, um, to me, lifestyle goes a little bit broader than just thinking about it narrowly. Like people may think, okay, it's just healthy lifestyle. But if you look at the portion of the scripture, a healthy lifestyle is a balanced lifestyle. You know, they say too much of one thing is ain't good for nothing, and too much of one thing is not good. So you need to learn to have balance. But in balancing, no, I believe it is not something that, okay, you're balancing takes concentration and focus, because when a human is trying to balance his life or her life, what you would find, there are always some element trying to get you off balance, you know and how we are designed. You might say, I'm going on a diet to be healthy, and you might find, boy, that chicken that your mother cooked, they just, you didn't plan to eat it, but when you reach there, you start smelling it, and it's like it's talking to you. It's talking to you, and you don't know what to do. So for me, I just saying that I think it's important to have balance. The body, or the physical aspect of man, if you look at it, it is not just a physical aspect alone that matters. As much as the scripture say, be healthy in body, you would realize body and spirit works together. 'Cause if the body is sick, then you have a problem in terms of how you're gonna tap into, or how you're gonna connect with God, because you're not well. That's why when someone is sick, then you have someone to pray for the sick person, because sometimes the sick person can't pray for themselves. You understand? So I'll just leave that there for a while, and let me allow you, Trevor.
Yeah, well, I think you ended on the right note there. We should pray.
Yeah, listen, Roger will pray for us tonight, man. You can pray tonight.
Yeah?
Roger's gonna pray for us tonight, man.
Yeah, we should pray. We should pray, and then get into the meat of the meat.
Amen. Amen. Let's go, Roger. Go ahead.
Oh Lord, hallelujah.
Yes, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together once again in fellowship. Dear Lord, we thank you for everyone here um, on air, our listening and viewing audiences, our guests here tonight. Dear Father, just guide this evening session.
Oh God.
Be our present, dear Lord. Dear God, in First Corinthians, you said that it's really a powerful reminder that our bodies are your own, dear Lord, and we therefore are called to honor our bodies and take care of them. The way we eat, we exercise, and how we treat our body holistically.
Mhm.
And dear God, we trust and have faith that you will guide this evening, that coming out of it, that you will, dear Lord, through everyone on this program will be able to impart something, some takeaway, dear Lord, that would honor you. Guide this evening session. We commit this program in your hands. Bless Hope FM and its stakeholders, dear Lord, and its owners, and everyone who, in every way, dear Lord, every day, give off their time to honor you and to serve you through this medium, through this channel. We thank you for Brother Trevor and Brother Sabi and our guests here tonight. And have your way, dear Lord, with us. This we ask in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Praise God.
Amen.
Praise Praise God.
Whatever you
Um,
say.
you know, Sabi, that text, I think most people are familiar with it in the King James version.
Mm.
It's a, you know, dear brothers, I desire that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospereth.
Yeah.
But I like how this here kind of strips it down, where he talks about body and spirit.
Mhm.
You know, that God wants us to be healthy in body and strong in spirit. And you know, it's sad to say, but a lot of us Christians we neglect the health of our bodies, because you know, as some people say, we so heavenly minded that we know earthly good. We allow our bodies to deteriorate, and because we think we could pray and ask God for healing, etc. You know, we don't need to do what is right.
Yeah.
Cut back on certain things. Bro, I have learned some things. My body speaks to me, and there are times when he says to me, "You're putting on weight. Drop it off." You understand? You could feel it. You feel the change in your body, in the activities that you would do, etc. You become more strained, more pressure. Your breathing, etc. is labored. You know, but a lot of time we neglect it because we could be so busy running after, but we forget that if this train engine collapse, we are no good. We have no use to the kingdom if this body fails. So what's the point in you being, let's say, a minister or whatever, and you have a stroke and you're lying on your bed and you can't do nothing? And you will say the devil get a stroke because you're not taking care of the body. Taking too much salt, your pressure high. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah, 100%.
this text, I mean, the way how it's written here in the version, it is dropping like a bomb on us. Take care of the body. God give it to you to take care of. If the body is sick, the spirit is weak. That's what they say there. Health and a strong spirit are partners. And Roger, this is not saying that you just abandon spiritual things and you're just running after bodily exercise or whatever. But this is saying, he's saying here there's a balance between body and spirit. There's a balance, a perfect rhythm. So it has to be in harmony. You know, it's like you're on the treadmill. They both have to work together. Otherwise, if you stumble on the treadmill, you will bust your face. That's as simple as I could put it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. If you stumble on the treadmill, your face will feel it. You understand? Raja, let me hear your take on it, and then we'll go to the nutritionist in the house.
Yeah, an interesting takeaway if you look at how the scripture is presented.
Mm-hmm.
I hope all is well with you and that you are as healthy in body as you are in spirit. So the reference point is spirit. It is suggesting to me that if you have a weak spirit,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have a weak body.
Mm-hmm.
So if your spirit is unhealthy, it's as we local parlance, if we have a bad spirit, right? We won't have good health.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense when you think of it in its purest form. That we always hear people say, "Look, boy, if you're happy, you're healthier. If you're less stressed, the hormones more relaxed and the body is more in tune and so on with itself, and you're able to digest better." And well, it's interesting. All that start with how your spirit is, right? And 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 I know in the world today, we find all sorts of different reference point, right, to have a good spirit, quote unquote. I think the scriptures here is very clear, right? And it's always the reference point that everything came out of, whether it be government's constitution or whatever else, somebody take and tweak and represent it in something else. But the scriptures is very clear, right? That um, from what I garner here, you know, you ought to have a good spirit to enjoy a healthy body, and that God, um, our body is a temple of God, and then we are to honor it and treat it well. And if we understand that in its purest form, that you know we'll know why it is important to treat our bodies extremely well.
All right. Okay, Akim. You're up.
Well, I think it's quite interesting that everyone started from the perspective of using a different version to kind of to bring this passage to light. This is one of my favorite passages. You'll know as a nutritionist, it would match for us at presentations, and I happen to gravitate to the amplified take on this, which is similar to what everybody read tonight. And it says, "Beloved, I pray that in every way you may succeed and prosper, and be in good health." And they have in brackets physically, just as I know your soul is prospering spiritually. Um, my take on this is, uh, when we had the author of this particular scripture writing, um he I'm getting that he understood that we there's a spiritual matter that we're working towards. So as I'm aware that your soul is prospering because you're growing, you're in the environment for growth and development spiritually, the Holy Spirit is living in you and you're developing and you're walking the walk. I sometimes tend to think, and this has been one of the areas or one of the shortfalls I've seen with our church community. One of the things that is quite alarming, and I'm not sure if we're aware that we, especially within the Pentecostal circle, we're losing a lot of our pastors, and that has been an issue for me. And I remember going to church when I was studying and coming back. I always had an issue when we got very heavy. Somebody said heavily man with no earthly good. I think it was Trevor. It was Trevor. Because we tend to pray everything away, not understand that there's a place for wisdom and there's a place for understanding and for praying for understanding. And so my real take on my take on this is similar to what everyone said, but in mind there's a reason for it. So we need to prosper physically because spiritually we're here to do something. And like I said to my clients all the time, your human body is the most expensive real estate because it is what is housing your spirit. When that real estate packs up, your spirit must go and it cannot remain. And so, as believers who are here living a spiritual experience in a physical body, I think we must grasp that in order for us to be effective and in order for us to actually carry it, whether it's disciple, whether it's mentor, whether it's lead, whether it's holistic, whatever it is that the mission is that God is calling us, whether in our individual church, community church, and global and collective churches, we have to be alive to do it. And I think that's what we take for granted and something we just expect to be alive. And we live life any old how, do any old thing, and expect to get the results that is different to what we've sown. But yeah, that's my take on what a particular passage here is saying.
I love the analogy that your body is the most important real estate because it's used to house the Spirit of God. And you know, I remember Akim, we did a program along that line some time ago. It was so in depth. You understand? That program has changed my life as a man. You know, I changed my diet significantly and see, really and truly, it is simply what you put in, you get out. And a lot of times people want to put in junk and want to get out health. Like it don't work that way. You understand? And then you have some people, what they do is that they do a lot of this, a lot of bodily exercise. So they look good. They look good physically. You understand? You see them, they look strong and thing, but they still putting a lot of junk inside. So the muscle obviously is getting worked, but it's junk inside, sweets and all sort of old thing you're eating. You understand? So let's talk about this portion here. First Timothy um 4 and verse 8. It says, for bodily exercise profited little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, and of that which is to come. So godliness, as I said, in order of priority, even if you're thinking about living well,
Yeah.
godliness should be at the top of your list. And you could break it down. If you want to make a health chat, probably it should be something like, or maybe what you would want to call as a man your health priority chat. God first, me. So when it's me, maybe I'm eating good food and show. Also put it God first, sleep. So sleep is rest, exercise, or if you want to put exercise, rest. Akim might be able to give me a better, what my mind is imagining right now. In order of priority, you might be able to tell me better because I'm not a professional here. I'm just thinking out loud. You know,
Right.
so I allow you to just probably on what you know, you
Right.
know.
Well, for my perspective is we have godliness. Spirituality has to be the key because that's who we are at our most at our core. We're spiritual beings, and once we move from being living godly lives, I think we want to come to the physical aspect, but the physical aspect isn't just the physical aspect.
Right.
That's even broken up into mental and
Yeah.
other things, and
Right.
so emotional health and well-being, and it's a whole thing. But I think we can start spiritual because even that too has its own categorization. Whereas
Yeah.
as a spiritual and also physical, and then we break up physical into the different things because what you realize is that especially when it comes to physical health, different things can impact the other things.
Mhm.
So if you're not emotionally stable, what happens to you? Right? If you've gone through a period where you had so many loss in your family, everybody isn't able to stay on the wagon and to cope and to do well. And so what happens when someone fall off the wagon and they decide, you know what, well, life is hard as it is already, there is no reason living, and sometimes people who have broken spirits, what happens when your whole spirit is broken, when your spirit broken and you're grieving, what tends to happen if you don't pull yourself out of that hole? It's a serious, your health is going to be on the continuous decline. So I think spirituality has to be, as you said, has to be the top, and then we move to physical health. But keeping in mind that physical health is not just exercise. Whereas exercise is part of it, it's more all encompassing. So that's rest. That's make sure we have an adequate mental health. That make sure we eating well as well. So as well, are we financially able? Can we support our families? Because all of that in turn will come and affect your health.
Yeah. Akim, I long for the day when I see as fellow men in Christ, we can begin to package things in such a way that is relevant to people's needs at certain times in their life. Right? We see, for example, how health, healthy living or lifestyles are packaged to genders based on a certain mode. So they say sex sells. So we know it's the environment is highly driven with that. So I'm going to package foods for the men in such a way that promotes, hey, this is good for the back, or this is good for that, or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And that is what happens, and it's very effective.
Yeah.
I mean,
Aja, we kind of lost you there. Probably your
Yeah.
device is ringing or something. Yeah.
You're cut in and out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Go
think you're
ahead.
muted. You're muted. Yeah.
okay, Herman, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, you're
Right.
good.
Yeah.
So when a brother is going through a moment, a lost relative, and sometimes you have one, two, three consecutively, and a brother is under pressure and so on. Well, not everybody gets over things quickly. Some people go at different pace and so on. How are we able you know, as nutritionist, Akim, that would say to the brethren, and generally everyone, you know, when you're under stress, you know, make sure that these foods or these things are taken daily, or at this time, make sure you consume this. You know, just the same way how the secular world will use food to sell um, for its own drives and so on, right? Um, so how we teach, which is a whole different thing to preach,
Right.
is is absolutely important. And you know, and I could get off the fence by even including, you know, my pet peeve where um, we tied and we gave our 10%. But
Right.
one thing we have not taught or have not been doing well in teaching our fellow men is, right, how do we budget the 90,
Right.
or how do we um, are able to multiply the 90% so that our standard of living will be sustained, that we consume the right things, we could plant the right things, grow the right things, and so on, right? We get a 10%, and you know, the, how the brother is able to handle the other 90, well, that's on him, as opposed to really showing the brother, hey, this other 90, here is how you can eat healthy with it, here is how you can manage it, here is how you can grow it, and so on.
And you're 100% correct. Yeah? And the challenge, and as I've often said, is that we do not have a culture that promotes health and well-being, and that's the sad reality that we're facing, especially within the church. And so even at my church, and wherever I'm called to share, and I mean, just it was last week, before last week, I had the privilege of sharing of sharing at the new, that was a New Testament church in Boca. And you know, it was well received. And I'm saying, for this to work, we have to first create a culture of health and wellness. And I don't think that's a thing for us. So in making it relevant, that has also been a pet peeve. I mean, Sabi would remember our conversation when he asked me, and I said to him, I said, well, listen, that appears to be the only thing that tends to get men as open up, is only when we seem to talk about sexual health. It's a sad state of affairs. However, I would say this is that what a lot of men don't often realize is that whenever we get to the place of sexual health, other things are already affected, and that's usually the later stage. And so the exact habits and so that are going to negatively increase risk of having poor performance, or erectile dysfunction, or whatever it is are the same things that are going to increase the risk of possibly developing diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and the list can go on, because we're talking about behaviors, right? These are learned behaviors, and nobody comes into the world knowing to eat healthy, or knowing what to choose. We come into it, and we learn from our parents who feed us, or when we get older, we learn from the marketing, from the person who produced those foods and say to us, oh, this, you should have this. Or the marketers of cereal who might say, okay, this is a breakfast food, when we know for a fact that 20 years ago, those were not breakfast foods. All right. And so we have to, I think we must go back to the foundation and understanding that what is the mission. When we realize that as men in a society, that we're called to lead our families, and we're called to support our families and be there for them, I think we have to, as a church, we have to take a umbrella approach to this. As we teach the gospel, it mustn't just be us doing the Sunday thing and doing the Bible study thing and omitting all of these, because what happens when a man is not able to care for his family financially? And we talk with doctor spoke about the tithing and not being able to manage. One of the biggest pet peeve of mine is that I am finding that we have too much men in our society who uses alcohol as a balm for dealing with emotional problems. And everyone you go to, that seems to be what's promoted, and sometimes even in our church community, that might be a promotion. So I sit down home and I look stressed out. I go, I ain't go over drink, but I will take a little drink, and this is what we promote. Promoting community, promoting an environment where we can talk and discuss it, confess your faults one to another, and this is scriptural. So sometimes I get that because we don't focus on health, we completely gloss over the scriptures and the parts of the Bible that are there to kind of help us get that holistic part that we need, so that we can actually say, you know what, if I deal with the mental aspect, then I know that we can focus and make sure that we're eating well. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity of going to an Adventist university, and that made a difference. And so I saw a collective church group who made an emphasis in promoting health. And so because I saw it done, doesn't mean that everybody's doing it, but we saw an effort was made. And because of that effort, there are a lot of persons who would take it serious because it's part of the collective community. I think it does show where our leadership is, but I think we actually have to make it as part of the culture and package it from there, because we package in longevity for the kingdom.
He's
Well,
speaking a lot. Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just sitting here, and I thank God for you all, brothers, because it confirms to me something God has said to me a couple of months ago.
Mhm.
All of the resources his kingdom, his church in our nation needs is within the church. But how well are we utilizing it is the challenge we have to overcome. And we have to pray that God himself will break the strongholds that are opposing what he desires for his church to be healthy. His body. We are his body. If we are sick, how could we do the work? And that's what it comes down to. And that is holistically, not just now in terms of physical and emotional. Akim is right. The spiritual is so important. Now, when you look at the Bible, especially the Gospels, we see healing, which is directly related to good health, as a major component of Jesus' ministry. But what we have done is that we have tried to make ourselves the healer. So we don't care if people can say, come to me and let me pray for your healing. You understand what I'm saying? And daring, we have missed the boat.
That's fascinating.
We want to be the healer, which we cannot. We are just the stream, the instrument God uses to pray for the sick. He said, if you pray. So we don't mind if people getting sick, because we could pray. And if God heal them, he heal them. If he heal them, they die. You understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
But we have to, as we are right, we're on the right track in saying, hey man, you could take care of yourself, because there are other scriptures to substantiate it. Jesus what? When he healed, he tell them, go and be well, live healthy. You understand? The woman with the issue of blood, she got healed after how much years of sickness. Why did Jesus restore her to health? Because he knows healthy body, healthy soul, healthy spirit. And the list goes on. All the sick people we see that got healed in the Bible. Hezekiah, we see even Job himself, who we use as a model of faith and perseverance and endurance. Hey, man, let me not speak in tongues here, but it's telling us that your health, God, what is at the end, God, what? Restored him to good health and all the other things that follow. You understand?
Yeah.
So it conforms to us, man, that bodily health, physical health is critical to pleasing and serving God in the way that he wants us to. And we have a lot of work to do. I mean, tonight we just scratching the surface, because from what I'm hearing here, we are just beginning to say, hey, this is something we need to look at. I have a next point here, but I'll stop here, because as I was saying, I took some notes on something that came into my mind, in my spirit, as we were talking. But I'll stop here for us to have some further discussions.
You know, Brother Trevor, if every church, I believe, has a vision for its members,
Mhm.
right? Ultimately, that I think, in a nutshell, that is members to live in accordance with the Holy Scriptures, right? But however that is worded, I'm not sure how well we break down and what I'll call on my job, those strategic pillars and objectives that will drive that vision.
Mhm.
And if we did, and if we are doing it, you will obviously healthy living will be one of those.
Mhm.
And of course, when you set objectives, it forces you to do something about it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? And that is how we are able to get things cascaded down in a seamless way. Everybody in synergy working towards the overall picture, right? And I'm sure once that is done, we'll see good reason as a church, for example, right, to collectively farm all those products and so on that we need, that we can get at, at very reasonable prices
Yes.
for ourselves. Than because a lot of the good stuff are very expensive in the groceries, right? But
Mhm.
if we are growing it because we understand the importance of it for our bodies, and in fellowship we all taking part in making sure that this is successful. This farmland here, right, is very productive. Then we able to share among ourselves and our communities.
Mhm.
We have healthier bodies, healthier communities,
Mhm.
and what a great way to evangelize.
Mhm.
I'm here and I'm just thinking, um, and the portion of scripture that came to mind as I'm there thinking is from Matthew chapter 18, verse 19 to 20. It says, "And again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything
It shall be done.
that they shall ask, it shall
Mhm.
be done for them by my Father which is in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them." And in the discussion that we were having, this portion of scripture jumped out at me in a different light. In that, we are encouraged to fellowship and pray and to grow spiritually. When we come and somebody say they ain't feeling well, we spend so much time worried about the person, praying hard, fasting, doing all that we can to ensure, you know, in a spiritual sense, we believe God can make that person whole. And we come together. Now, when we come together like that, right? We come together. Coming together is coming together. Two or three together is still coming together.
Right.
And if we come together in that light to say, here what's going on? We want to be healthy together. So what can we do together to make sure we are healthy in a holistic? How can we culture the way that we are functioning? Brother, what are you eating? What's your family history like in terms of, do your family have diabetes? Is it a case where there's a cancer in your family, a history of that? Okay, what are you doing about it? Have you tested yourself to see what's going on with you? When we speak to each other in as a body of believers and we encourage each other and motivate each other to be healthy, not only in terms of a spiritual sense, we encourage people to have healthy marriages. Again, if your health is not well, if you don't have a healthy body, your wife will be frustrated, your children will be affected, your whole family will be affected because your money have to go towards your health. So when I go to the supermarket and my wife say to me, boy, that chicken breast is strip, it's expensive. I say to my wife, my love, I cannot eat it. I cannot eat the paper. But what I am buying with the money, it will add health to my body. So when one bell pepper is $20, brother, to be honest with you, I thank God for the $20 I have and I buy the bell pepper and I eat my salad because I know I cannot eat the paper. God give me life and he helped me to have the money. I work and I get it. So what I have it for? I have to make healthy choice. And if it's expensive, I can implant in it, but I know what it's going to do for me, then so be it. No, I understand for some people it's really difficult, right? No, that's no excuse to say you can't buy good food, so you're only buying canned food, processed food. You understand? Eating all these things and you don't even know what's inside of it, and you're weighing on the body. And when I know trying to eat and be healthy, right? Trying to understand my situation and eating accordingly to that. Akim, we did a real extensive program on that, Roger. I should get that one and share it with you. It will blow your mind. You understand? And when you why should you then? When I healthy now, I come when I should be praying that God bless you and someone that Lord heal him. Lord heal him. What are you eating? I'm praying God heal you. It's just like you know when they say when you cast out a strong man, when you cast out a demon, right? The Bible says that demon go. But if the door is open, seven of them come back. It's like you taking seven of them and put back inside of you to make that sickness have a stronger hold on your body. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to be able to be wise, my people, and men in particular. It
Brother
doesn't
Zabi,
stop here. But as men, yeah. Go ahead, Roger. I stick my pin here.
when the oil production went low in Trinidad and Tobago post Dr. Eric Williams era, you know how famine took took on the upheaval.
Mm.
Extension agricultural officers. There was the government hired a large amount of persons, and they went into the homes and showed people, housewives, unemployed husbands, spouses, and so on, how to farm, right? And people started from their backyard kitchen doing the farming and so on, and then fell in love with it, and many stayed on and extended it. And others who didn't grow it and didn't wish to be any farmers became investors into it. Now, I'm mentioning that to show how the model can also work for us as a church, right? We have the expertise. Imagine if we had to go wrong the island and show people, right, as extension officers, the bell peppers, this is how you plant it and this is how you treat it, right? All these other important foods, these important crops, right? In the dry season, this is how we're going to maintain, good, how we're going to maintain water and so on. Just imagine how this can take off, not just now for the sustenance of family, but it
Yeah.
could be an income earner for families.
I think seriously, agriculture needs to happen in a lot of places. You know what I mean? And sometimes men are to be blamed too, because men will go to the supermarket and buy snacks for their children. You know what I'm saying? They find it too hard to buy the fruits. Yeah, a
They
mango tree
probably
at
don't, but
your house. You know, you have a mango tree at your house. All the mango falling on the ground and spoil. You know what I mean? You have fruits. There's never a moment when it doesn't have a fruit in season in Grenada. Dry season, rainy season, there's always some fruit. Two or three of them you can get in season.
but we men need help, you know. It's how
Explain,
I
explain
know
yourself,
some
Roger.
men.
Explain yourself.
I know some men who goes every year
Yeah,
to Maribo Propagator and other
yeah,
places and buy plants.
uh,
And you see them for the last every year for the last 10 years. No, the fact that I'm seeing them tell you that I'm one of them too.
All right.
But because sometimes we don't know. I mean, I try, right?
yeah,
And where I live is though it's I probably only have about 2 inches of soil
yeah,
on rock.
right.
Okay. Um, but hey, what? Not everybody is blessed with to be a farmer. But
Mm-hmm,
just like I was saying earlier on, I may not be able to farm, but I'm able
right.
to buy the bag of fertilizer for you.
Yeah.
But for me, I know I'm not much of a farmer. So at the end of the day, I just always say, here what going on. Well, the farmers have to make money to feed their family too. And God knows it. One man can do all. So some will plant and some will buy. And I'm
Right.
one of them that will buy. I will
Right.
support your business because I don't have time to go and plant. I know some men say, well, oh, you could plant something. Yeah, when the rain falling I made a little thing outside with some PVC pipe. I put some lettuce in it. You understand? And they grow. And they grow
Very nice.
lovely. So I save my money that time, but right now you know what's going on. So but there are some farmers they have land that is close to the river. And as much as things may be kind of tight to the water, they can still pull something from the ground. You understand what I'm saying? That is
Yeah.
running. So
Yeah.
you will still get some watermelon and think, I'll buy it from you, don't worry.
But I believe God has designed man in a way that he uses his hands. And if we're not using it in the land or to build something and so on,
Mm.
I can almost guarantee you that if you attempt at building something, at farming something, there will just be a natural inclination or satisfaction about what you did with your hands. That's
Very
something that
true.
I have
It's true.
observed
Mm-hmm.
about men. I'll never forget the day when some pumpkins grew wild and I didn't do much, but I had a lot of pumpkins growing, and I felt proud about it. I took quite a bit and I sold it to um, a supermarket in Wester Hall, and I
Mm.
made some money. And the thought just came to mind at that point, maybe I could resign my work and get into this, right?
Never want to be a pumpkin farmer. But then
Yeah.
again, it's an awesome idea if you
But
understand everything
it
about
was
pumpkin.
just satisfying that
Yeah.
you put something down with your hand. You'd probably just throw it, but you plant or you build, um, something that you could look at. It's something with men,
Right.
right? And I think if we could get that out of the man of the house that is supposed to be priest,
Yeah.
right, and everything else, right, you cannot negate the importance of his role as a farmer too.
Great. Akim?
Sabi, I'm hearing a consistent theme across our conversation. We
Right.
need help. We don't know, and it always brings me back to Hosea 4:6.
Mm.
My people are destroyed because of lack of
Knowledge.
knowledge,
Right.
and because it has rejected knowledge. So it's not a lack of praying, or it's not a lack of worshiping, or lack of type of offering. The reality is that there are things that we don't know,
So,
and so I think we also need to put a great emphasis on knowing and knowing what we need to know to help ourselves. We hear, but either it is some of us decide we need to do a lot of backyard farming, because the reality is, um, I said we're talking about buying, but the reality is, if every person at some point, this is a hypothetical scenario, and let's say everyone somehow got the money wherever they got it from, and they were able to see that we're a healthy nation, we're eating healthy. If every Grenadian decided to go to all of our grocery stores and buy all the healthy food that we have available, we would not have enough for everybody to get.
true.
That's the real reality. And because I'm in the grocery so often every single month, and I'm looking at the fluctuation of prices and on what foods we have, it's not going to happen. I'm always advocating for for food security and for us doing something more on a larger scale and really promoting, because listen, we have this is the environment we're living now. What happens to us in the next drought? Are we going to be caught off guard and in a scenario where now, as I said to us, we can't use the water to plant, and what about our farmers who don't have access to a river or close by a river? I've often found it is three issues with us, Is either one, we don't know, we don't have the knowledge, is lack of planning, right? Or is lack of commitment. Is either one of those three things I've always found to be an issue. Anytime we have a challenge with, especially with men, who whether you hardly see them in the clinic period, and you only see them in maybe it's a little healthier passing around, and they say, you know what, we talk with focusing on men's health, and somebody drag them or bring them, or they get some kind of vaps and they say, well, I'm going to come. That's the only how we see them. So it's a very difficult thing. I think I don't think it's impossible, but I think we have to get to the place where we realize as men, as men, we have to go past the basic, go past the bare minimum, and not just saying I don't know, or not just saying buying vegetables is expensive, because we know it is, but life in general is expensive. But we learn other things, and we whether we learn a new skill, we learn plumbing, we learn something to save a lot of money when times come, we figure it out. I just long to see a day when we can move past the difficult scenarios and move into what can I do.
Yeah. I mean, you all have touched on some of my area, my focus, my technical training, etc. And um, just today, I was in that we were in this meeting. We were in here facilitating, and that team came up again. The issue of poor soils is resulting in poor nutrition. All right, and more and more we see the linkage because we have failed to adapt biblical principles.
Yeah.
Rest in the land after the 7th year. You understand? Allowing it to go follow. We have abandoned those biblical principles. So we are paying our price. So what we've seen actually is that you could eat as much as you want of a product. It will still not give you the nutrition you need to stay healthy. Because what it's pulling from the soil is the bare bones nutrition that is then now converting into the product, the food, whether it's the lettuce, the tomatoes, etc. So if you were to examine the roots of some of those crops, pineapples, etc., you would see that the root itself is very poorly developed and sometimes looks sick itself. You know, so that's why people complain about, oh, they go to the store and they buy imported cabbage or carrot, etc., and they keep it in the fridge and it rots away. It dissolves. It basically breaks down, and that's because it is not soil-based production now with healthy nutrients. A good healthy soil. It's a poor soil,
Right.
a poor medium. The soil will become just a media that you put it in, but you're packing in chemicals.
Right.
So luckily for us in Grenada, we still have fairly healthy soils. And that is one of the reasons why we need to plant.
Right.
And we need to practice some of those principles where what we used to call crop rotation. So our old parents never planted the same crop on the same piece of soil over and over and over and over again. They would change. And that's why you mix peas and corn, because peas produces nitrogen, whereas corn, uses nitrogen, etc. So we had a balance in the soil there. But we have abandoned a lot of those practices in the rush for quick cash, right? And I've abandoned wisdom, really. The book of wisdom. The Bible tells you that, you after the 7th year, rest the land. God say with the 6th year, He will give you abundant produce, and so that you wouldn't starve, you wouldn't go hungry, you wouldn't, etc. But we have abandoned those. And I took a note here because one of the things we've seen is that the elderly and the elderly men, they are having health challenges. And part of the reason could be because after we stop, because we think we're getting old, we stop eating healthy. Because we say we are so cultured now that we think that we're going down. So so even what we eat now goes down. Instead of now you begin to eat more healthy stuff to keep yourself physically that you could be productive even in your old age. What we begin to do, we begin to eat more poor stuff. Cricks. We just eating some cricks and a cup of tea. You understand what I'm saying to you? So I want Akim to touch on that whole issue of why are we seeing so much of our elderly men having so much serious health challenges, and how we could address that. Because I hear you, it's because of a lack of knowledge. We are perishing.
One of the biggest things that I see, especially in our senior men and our senior persons in general, is the issue of malnutrition. And I mean, it sounds weird for me to say it, because over the years we've looked at malnutrition as children not having food and them starving and they're having really big bellies, kwashiorkor, marasmus, or having bow legs, and we look at the traditional sense. However, being out in the community and having to visit some people at home, I've realized that we have a lot of more senior person, a lot of our men especially, coming on with some severe cases of malnutrition, and not malnutrition to the point where they may not have no food at all to eat, but it might be that what they're eating isn't just not enough to meet their needs. One of the biggest challenges I see, especially with men, is sometimes depending on the work that they do, whether it's construction, some of them tend to have damages to the spine. And so we see that mobility goes down for them. That's a big one. In addition to that, when they get older, some of them they might decide, you know what, I can't eat meat, I fed up on meat. And I tend to hear that one a lot. I had meat so much times that I'm not doing meat at all. And what they eat is just as a starch. One of the bigger issues, however, is at the age of 40, after the age of 40, we generally begin to lose a certain percentage of our muscle mass every year. The muscle mass is pretty much our organ of longevity. And if we're not consuming adequate protein, those are going to go down. So what's happening there? We're not getting adequate protein, one, because as soon as you get to 60, it means that our body is not absorbing that protein readily available. So comparing to the average Joe, the average young adult, you find that your intake of protein as an older person needs to go up, because your body is not absorbing as effective as it were when you were younger. Now, what do we see? What happens? So one, they slow down, so they're not physically active. So they say they all are going on in age. Two, it might be that we weren't careful practicing proper lifting, damaging our spine, so we become physically inactive. So one, we are inactive, our muscles are not functioning. Two, we're not consuming adequate protein, but guess what? The body still has to function. So oftentimes the body is going to come and it's going to pull from the muscles, and it's going to break down that muscle tissue to produce energy for whatever the demands of the body is. And that's one of the bigger, the bigger picture is this. We look at particular food groups like protein and certain foods, and they might decide, I'm not consuming modified. So you mentioned Cricks. A lot of these foods that we generally tend to consume because it's what's available to us are usually void of nutrients. So when you look at food, I'm not just looking at a particular food, but I must also look at the food that I'm consuming and the nutrients that I'm getting with it. So it means that if I'm not consuming a healthy food, I'm not consuming adequate protein, chances are I'm not getting adequate magnesium, I'm not getting adequate phosphorus, I'm not getting adequate calcium, and there's a whole host of nutrients that we're not getting. If you're not doing fruits and vegetables, it might mean that you're not getting, you may not be getting adequate phytochemicals and phytonutrients and the antioxidants that are going to help fight your body, especially in an environment that we have that's so toxic today. So we have cigarette smoke, car smoke, all these toxic chemicals, whether it's farmers using pesticides and they are abusing it, all of these toxins, we either ingesting it via food or we breathe it in the air, and we're not trying to combat it. Understand that the food that we eat are living in the same environment, and they have developed mechanisms to protect themselves from these retardants in the environment. And that's one of the issues why I tend to see, especially as men, we tend to go down. So one of the bigger issues I'm seeing is malnutrition. So from the time you see them get older and the forehead become very sunken, and you start seeing their bones, and it hasn't mean that their body is consuming the muscle mass. That doesn't have to happen, because I'm sure all too well, if we look on the internet and we see those videos, especially those fellas sometimes who do not exercise and they're strong and they have the muscle mass. Yes, some of them they tend to be a bit lean, but they're functional. And so I tell my clients, we can pack up. And I think we have a pack up mindset, especially for our senior men. You know, I work all my years, I take that chair, and now it's time to rest and sit down home and do nothing. And I think that's a trap, because sometimes you get that we have nothing to fight for, nothing to work towards. So it means as soon as I get 60, whatever God has called me to do stops at 60. That's the mindset I tend to get with us, and that's why I'm not always a fan of retirement in the sense that people put it, because it gives people an excuse to pack up. And when they begin to pack up youth, what you tend to see is that the health naturally starts to be on the decline, constantly going down to the line. So those are some common things and some reasons why I've found that, especially when men's health is concerned, that we tend to be on the negative end of the spectrum.
But you see that point you told about malnutrition? We see it every day, you know.
Yep.
I think all of us could admit now we see it every day. And I think some of us could sense that there is a need, a desperate need. There are a lot of malnutrition at senior citizens.
Yep.
Young people too.
Yeah.
Hold on. So, some men know the next side is that they're so spiritual that they fast more than they eat.
That one.
And
Don't talk for that one.
and they always fasting, thinking as a result of that they're going to get more stronger spiritually. Now I know he's songing off. Somebody might be saying, "What are you crazy? What are you talking about?" Well, let me ask you, Raja, since he probably think I'm crazy. Let me hear what you think. Raja, what you think? Make
You know,
sense, make sense of
interesting-
it. Let me see.
Interestingly, I was just looking on YouTube the other day how to fast. Right? Honestly, because it's not something I have, been doing
Right.
as I should. And the very first thing they warned was, hey, if you're not used to this, then you don't want to go on doing this for days, right? You can start off a few hours in the day,
Mm.
right? Or you could sacrifice a meal, right? Skip lunch, here's a good way to start. But another point to it was that you ought to be eating healthy,
Right.
right? Because your body was designed, that was so designed for you to consume certain things at certain times, and so you don't want to put it in shock, right? You ought to be eating healthy.
Yeah.
Some people constantly in shock. Like,
Well, no, when you see what he says there, brother, is that some people figure, they're on such a spiritual high with the fasting thing
yeah.
that they could just think and they could drink three Vitamalt.
Yep.
You understand? Drink a after that thing, they go home and they drink a 3 Vitamalt and they get power and strength. But you're leading yourself to serious diabetic shock and coma. No serious, but so that is your fasting. Fasting as a health fad. I've seen it more and more. It's coming in. You're seeing it more and more. People think that I could fast to detox, for not understanding the spiritual side to this thing, and thereby putting yourself in more, as the Bible says, more. You're weakening your spirit really, and exposing yourself to health challenges that will then impact your spiritual life. So I don't know if Akin could touch a little bit on this whole your fasting and dieting and how you need to balance that for a healthy lifestyle as men.
Yeah.
Akin, let's hear you.
And of course, we're talking about fasting in moderation, and it's fine. However, the excessiveness of it and what diet culture has glorified today is not been found to be sustainable. The issue is the bottom line is it is a mechanism that has been shown to be effective for weight management, and then that's usually where we tend to see the fads, whether it's the keto, whether it's the low carb, whether it's the low fat option, whether it's the Weight Watchers diet. Is so many diets that is so many, they've gotten crazy now. I say to persons, ultimately, what we need for this is a calorie deficit, and you can do a calorie deficit and not having to be excessive in fasting. That's not what we're talking about. And the issue is, I say to persons, meals are what I have termed, and this is not anyone, I have termed them opportunities for feeding. And so in a particular day, every single one of us has a particular biological threshold that we need to meet as a baseline. So we need to get adequate protein, adequate carbohydrates, adequate fats, right? We also need to get adequate vitamins and minerals. Keeping in mind that we have different systems that require different nutrients, whether as cofactors, whether as helpers, whether as fuel source to make sure that these systems can function. We need them. The issue is when we cut out a particular meal, keeping our mind that our stomach has a consistent size and that it can hold a certain amount of food. And even after you've consumed that food, it doesn't mean that every single thing that you consume is going to be absorbed into the bloodstream. The challenge is we can choose these approaches and not gain health. So we can choose weight loss approaches and lose health, because what we're doing is that we're not asking ourselves, what am I actually doing? So you're cutting out a whole 2 meals in a day, right? And what you might be doing is that you might be also reducing your your chances of, let's say you're talking about iron. So unless you're consuming red meat, if you're a female who's probably say that you're fasting and you have issues with anemia, you have 3 meals in a day to make sure that you get adequate iron, because all of the iron that you consume is not absorbed. So you have 2 meals in the afternoon. It means that you're consistently putting yourself on the back foot every single day, especially if this is a lifestyle. And when it comes to this intermittent fasting and these approaches, what we have seen is that in the long term, they're not sustainable. Now, they're effective for weight loss because all of them use the basic mechanism, which is our calorie deficit. If I eat 2 meals in a day, chances are I'm eating 1/3 less of my calories. Ultimately, I'm going to lose weight. You can do the same thing by doing other mechanisms. And this is the basic in which the most of them pretty much work. And the challenge is, of course, we're not paying attention. So we're just eating any old way. And for some, it might be vegetables. For some, it might be doing fish and small amounts. So people tend to leave from eating really, really bad. And then they go start eating a whole lot of vegetables now, 2 meals a day, and they start to feel nice and they're on a high now, and their body function, and to them, I'm doing well. But in the short term, yes, because you've made a drastic change, you swept away all I don't like to call foods, all the foods that are not necessarily so helpful for you, and you start bringing in good foods. For 2 meals in a day, you feel better because you're getting a little bit more of the nutrients that you weren't getting, but in the same way, you're cutting out nutrients that are also valuable.
Akib, could I ask? My son asked me this some time ago, and I thought it was a very interesting question. Where you sit, do you see the technology going in a way that, if not soon, at some point in time, I can wear something on my hand or such that will tell me as the day is going, this is the optimal level of calories I'm supposed to have, or carbs or whatever.
Right.
This is your level now. So I know, okay, I need to increase this.
Eat some fish.
Well,
I have some real time measurements of.
Well, I'll tell you this: it might be ways off from having a watch to actually measure your intake, your blood intake, and tell you what it is. But that we have very, very close data. So there is something that is called Chronometer, and it's an actual app that once you plug in the food that you consume, if you put in by the amount you consume, it's actually going to give you actually detailed report for the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, of the nutrients, the calories, the vitamins and minerals, and where they are. And so I have also used this as a way of kind of gauging to see what some days might look like for me, and what some days what might be some not so great days. So we do actually have a lot of those apps, and I'm not talking about MyFitnessPal. That's one of the bare minimum ones, but we have other apps that you can actually use on your phones to track your intake. And I can maybe just see if I can find it on my phone and show you. But we're close.
But outside of the app, right?
Right.
We still, I mean, I haven't seen or do not know where to find, for example, in the Grenada context of what a meal plan should look like for the week, Sunday to Sunday.
Right.
Brother Trevor, you laugh. I wish I could have.
The ministry has a nutrition thing, with the nutrition thing.
So I'll tell you. So
I keep looking there.
I'm happy to share with you. So the Grenada Food Nutrition Council published what is called our food-based dietary guidelines for Grenadians in 2020.
We do, yeah.
Right?
And
it's on Hope FM. So if you go on our Facebook page or you Google food-based dietary guidance for Grenadians, you will see we have a graphic that kind of gives you a distribution of what you should pretty much focus on in terms of food for the day. Generally, when I see clients, often I use the basic food groups and I ask the question: how much, how often? Is there any particular group in here that you're not consuming? And I'll tell you what the general consensus is. Peas and beans, once, twice a week, maybe. Vegetables, once, twice a week. Starches, staples, every single day. Meat, every single day. Pasta oils, 5 to 6. Water, 4. That's the general consensus you can get with the population. And so I said to us that the guideline really is a meter that we can really use to evaluate where we are. And generally, the single most important thing anybody anywhere can do for yourself and for your health is to make a special effort to consume more vegetables and fruits every single day. Even though that's the single most important thing you can do. Cut down on your starches and increase your fruit and vegetables. That's it.
You know, interesting that Akim saying that because, right, I had to make some changes. I remember, and when I went back on the Facebook, YouTube and thing doesn't lie, so I went back and I was looking at that program. I said, "Who is that man?" Roger, I talk about a man now, 25 pounds more. And you weren't seeing it all the while until one day I was looking back at that program and said, but wait now, who is that boy? That is me.
I,
You know what I
I
mean?
can't I can't imagine you bigger than you are now. I have to
Boy,
say
I'm
that.
telling you, 25 pounds more, right? And then I can talk about the drastic measure. So I took the drastic measure. So I cut off all my carbs, right? Stop drinking juice, no sugar, no flour, nothing, man. And then my body draw down like quick and fast in the space of 3 weeks to a month. About 25 pounds drop off of me. You understand? So my dietitian said, "You're crazy? You can't do that. You can't." One day I walking in tongue, I felt I was flying, man. My head was light. I was like, yeah, what going on here, boy? It's like it's a different kind of feeling now, but then I realized now something ain't right, boy. So when we said talk about balance, so then I had to go and I had to readjust the thing. You understand? So and it's about making healthy choices too in terms of what you buy and what you eat. You understand? So in reality, I've experienced that, and it kind of stemmed from the program we were talking about, understanding your family background and knowing what to eat. I mean, I try my best not to buy stuff in tongue on a daily basis. That has been when I have to do it, but if I'm hungry, then I'll buy. But then I see what at the end of the day, as Hakim said a while ago, sometimes we trying to only eat the healthy. But yeah, some other little thing. Not that it's not healthy. It's not best for you. And one of the things men must understand in culture in a healthy lifestyle is that pay attention to what your body is saying. You understand? You might eat something and your body tells you, don't eat that or don't eat much of that. Cut off there, right? Listen. But some men don't listen. They're drinking rum, they're getting drunk. The body's saying, listen, too much rum, too much alcohol. But you're still drinking more. What's wrong with you? You understand? And after you see what happened, how you feel, you get up in the morning and you go back and drink again.
Yeah.
You're
That's a
smoking. You know what I mean? So, what you saying,
That's a,
Hakim?
that's a conversation I think as a nation that we have to have um, on a Friday afternoons.
Mhm.
I am really concerned with the next 20 years for Grenada.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned. The amount of men I see on a Friday afternoon, whether it's at the market or in front of the bus terminal consuming alcohol, and the way that it is promoted as a way to deal with stress and to deal with situation when it's bad, or just as a way of socializing, or even the carnival scenario, is really concerning. Concerning so much to a point that cancer has been the single most leading cause of death for the last decade.
Mm.
It's gonna be for the last decade, and I'm not sure if your eyes have been open like mine and you've been on the lookout and you've been seeing it, but we have a lot of people with cancer.
In Grenada.
Yes,
And you know why?
tell us why.
No one asking you.
So
No, because
one,
obviously, I think
one,
smoking,
we smoke, the smoking, and
the
not
drinking.
even if you're not smoking, but we have a lot of cancer causing
Yes,
agents
yes,
in our
yes.
environment,
Right.
and we're continuously reintroducing them to the body ever so often, and we're not consuming the foods that are going to help protect us from it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So the equation that I like to say to people, if you look at a rusty nail outside, or you look at a piece of construction building and sometimes you see those pillars that break off and you see those steel after a while slowly begin to get exposed, or even
Right.
if you're painting and you see that begin to rust, that rusting is oxidative damage from the environment. The
Right.
very same thing is happening to us. It's happening to us on a day-to-day basis. And because it doesn't look like a rusted nail, doesn't mean that it's not happening to us. You cut an apple and you leave the apple outside for too long, you cut a yam, same oxidative damage. However, you realize if you squeeze a little lemon over it, we see that vitamin C, of course, is going to provide that antioxidant benefit to it, so it's not going to rust.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same principle. So with us, even with a lot of the high blood pressure and thing that we're seeing, a lot of it is oxidative damage to the body. It's exposure over time. And when you look at people, we generally not consuming fruits and vegetables, and these are the foods that you have to consume. Most times it's starch, and like I keep saying, I understand where it came from, but
True.
we have to at some point. We have to at some point move past, and I really identify with the story, and I can appreciate it, seeing what I'm seeing now here in Trinidad, because they have done a lot, and though the health situation might still not be as great as they would like it, what I appreciate is that you can go to the market, you can go to the street, you can go to Charlotte Street, and the abundance of fruit and vegetables is there. And it's even though some people complain that the prices are expensive in comparison to what we have to pay for it in Grenada, I happen to think it's fairly inexpensive. But of course, we have to have it available.
Yeah.
I wanted
I
to
mean,
nice thing about that.
Could you tell us quickly, because it's something I struggle with, and I often see it, when we partake at meals and so on in the corporate environment, persons not showing at what point in time the fruit should be eaten.
No, based on the best scientific evidence that we have available, we don't have anything that says eating fruits at a particular time is somehow better. I have seen some extreme situations where I've seen persons who don't consume breakfast and all they do is do fruits in the morning time, and this they have done 20 years, and at 20 years down the line, the pre-diabetic going into diabetes, not necessarily a great place. I think balance is always we can have our fruits like snacked in our snack times. We can have it like around our meal time, but I think we should generally have it in combination.
Right. So when it's part of a meal, do you eat it before the meal or after the meal?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that it makes a difference, because again, you're consuming it with the meal. The issue is what we tend to do in mango season is turn down the pot and consume way more than we need to. And of course, fruits have
Binge on the
sugar.
mango.
So if we consume a lot of mangoes, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 buckets and pans and basin of mango, because that's all we want to eat for the entire day, of course we're overloading the body with a lot of that sugar that we don't need, because we're not walking from nowhere to nowhere in no time and no place at all. We're not doing this kind of craziness. And 2, it still doesn't have all the nutrients that you need. So when you do that, it means that other systems are actually going to be suffering. So meal pairing is something that I promote quite often. And so if you cannot do one mango, or you cannot, in your head it's inconceivable, because I have people say that, listen, you're mad. How you can eat one mango or eat one slice of mango? I hear this so often. What about combining it? So have it with maybe some peanut butter, have it with a handful of nuts, have that fruit. It's about adding different things so that you're not just eating one single food group in abundance. Overall, if you have it with your meals, we have no evidence that it's an issue.
Great.
So Raja,
Except etiquette, table etiquette.
Raja,
No, well, I
hold on.
have a very interesting. I'm anxious to ask. This question is relating to the upsurge of what I call memory loss, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's, etc. We see that, and young people who people consider to be young in their 50s, early 50s, etc., coming down with these. Could you speak to that? And because I have certain, from my observation, I think some of it could be linked to nutrition.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
with you.
Could you speak to that a little bit, my brother?
What we've been seeing, I have an additional theory, but what we've been seeing with Alzheimer's dementia is that we've seen that a great majority of it tends to be a circulatory issue, and people who generally tend to have it is sometimes often referred to as diabetes type 3. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I cited some journal recently that they were referring it to as diabetes type 3, because essentially what they've realized is that the issues that whether it's the clogging of the arteries that's resulting in inadequate supply of nutrients to the brain, that has been touted as one of the things. Another theory that I've heard, and this has not been any scientific, but this is a theory I've heard. If you've noticed, in the last few years, there has been a big effort to go low fat because it has been purported, it used to be purported that low fat was the solution to heart disease and stroke and cholesterol. Now we know that's not some evidence in anywhere in the book. So a big thing that we used to hear before was people saying don't eat eggs because the yellow in the eggs might increase your cholesterol. No, that's not a recommendation we give to clients, period. Right? The bigger concern that we tend to see happening is a lot of the trans fats, whether it's from the over fried food and the burn of the oil or the shortening the lard that people put in the bread and a lot of the cookies and cakes. So if you go on the shelf, pick up any packet and you look at those packets and them, you will see shortening on a great majority of them. If you're converting a liquid oil to a solid fat, that's creating trans fats. That's increasing oxidative damages to the body as well, because that's adding to the cigarette smoke, it's adding to the vehicle smoke, it's adding to everything that we talked about before. But guess what? A lot of what we're eating is baked goods. What do we pack in the bags for the kids when they go to school and snack them? So this is what we train them up. What are we snacking on when we're home? When we don't cooking, we're not cooking food. These are what we're consuming in. A lot of our bread and our bakeries, shortening. So it's contributing, and I've been seeing a lot of people with high cholesterol, and which in the community, which for me, I'm kind of confused as to how it's getting so high, but still not shocked, because when you look at the diet recall, it tends to be the same repeating commonalities that you see with the clients over and over and over. Is the high starch, is the shortening, is the fried foods often, and is the using and the boiling of the oils quite often. However, what I have seen, especially where Alzheimer's is concerned, is that it seems to be along the lines of a circulatory issue, meaning that the brain is not getting adequate circulation.
Nutrition, yeah.
And nutrition. Keep in mind that if there's a blockage, it means that the blood is not going to flow as readily available. The thing is, we're not always able to look and see when the blockage is taking place. So people come at 40 with a high cholesterol level. We don't know the damage that is taking place.
Yeah.
So, Akim, what is your take then on what's your take then on vitamins to help, when you are deficient, your daily vitamins and so on?
So they can be helpful, and there's supplements, because they're supposed to supplement that is inadequate. The issue is a lot of people don't know what they're inadequate in. So you can find a situation where we take supplements, and with supplements it's very easy to not overdose, but to go into a toxicity, because of course you don't know what you're consuming. Two, we know that with evidence that supplements in no way are going to be superior to food, because we know that the minerals are they're not singularly binded to, like, for example, we know that we have magnesium oxide, which might be a supplement you might get in the pharmacy. You have magnesium citrate and glycinate. In food, it's tend to be binded in a more diverse way, so the absorption is a little bit better. In addition to, when we do the supplements, we're not getting the phytochemicals. They can be helpful for persons who are not getting adequate nutrition, and it can help need, right? But I'm always careful to put this plug so that we don't run away thinking that, okay, if I'm feeling weak and I don't have no energy, and typical men, SSS tonic, or how you call them, all the different tonic,
hemoglobin.
They're all
matic and the blood low, and they've gone for the different things in them, and I'm
Yes. I get that one. I have to get that one because I get like a noise, a little pops and clicks on your side. That's why I'm meeting you. So when you're to speak, you just on mute. All right. Yeah, but that's the thing. The men say you get something for the blood. You think for the back, you think for the blood. We all kind of thing. I saw a drink in the barber shop. The man have called lifters. I laughed. I say lifters. You understand? And but something across my mind is that so much time people, we coach ourselves and our children to eat what tastes good, but not necessarily what is healthy. So it's sweet. It tastes nice, you know. I was just having fun with my bigger son the other day, and I was saying to him, I'm sure you can't stay away from something sweet for a good 5 days. Hey, Daddy, I could do that if I want. I see on the third day when your body starts speaking to you, I know you would start going crazy. But I know because it happened to me. When I took a few days away from the sugar, and then I tell you, listen, this thing is like ants walking in your head,
Like a
Trevor.
drug. It's like a drug, man. You're addicted. That's the whole.
Oh wow.
Same thing with salt. I came off taking salt, and
Uh,
bro, it's like in my mouth. I craving that thing. You
yeah,
understand? So it's a lot of these things have you actually addicted, man. It's like an addiction. But I think we have to admit that there is a clear linkage between nutrition and I'm saying and as Akim says, healthy nutrition and a
Mhm.
lot of the challenges we see in affecting men.
Mhm.
And so there is a need to do something about it. My final question, Akim, is the whole issue and Roger, the whole issue of gluttony
Overeating.
and the impact it's having on men who feel
Mhm.
that they could eat. So we see men as
Say,
big as a whale. And
say it, man, say
I can before you answer, brother Trevor. Let me tell you what a lot of men is challenged with.
Yeah,
If you lose the weight,
Mm.
people want to know if you're sick,
yeah.
right? So
You're right.
you say now, boy, I can't look so.
You're
So
wrong, man. Eating.
you start eating now to put on weight, right?
You say you're looking good. Your wife taking care of you just for a minute, and then let's say one day your belly getting real big, man. What gonna Man, listen, the balance, I can before I answer that question, trying with the vegetables and the fruits and making that balance, what I've recognized is that I don't even need to go on the scale again as often as I used to. I recognize my weight stays stagnant, stays stable. And if you pay attention to how you eating, Roger, that big belly and thing, that ain't happening just so. I realize you would stay, you eat, listen, if you eat about the same way every day and about the same time, you would realize unless you're sick in some other way in your body would just remain at a certain weight. And I don't know how it happens, but it happens. So I was able to recalibrate and find my balance and just keep it there. And that was amazing to me. You understand? Yeah, but they say when you start getting a little older, you could expect a little difference in the body and so forth. As Hakim say, you can lose the muscle mass and so forth. And men must be aware of those things in terms of having any knowledge of what happens to you, when it will happen, unless you would think something wrong with you. Somebody say to you, okay, age of a way does function, and I'm close to 40. Not there yet, but the man say at 40 you start losing muscle mass. So imagine at 42, you see my arms start to get a little thinner. I didn't know that until now. I see we always gonna learn something, and then I might see now boy, oh going on now boy losing muscle boy, and I gotta start eating different now, trying to put back on fat. I losing muscle, but I have fat. Is fat, excessive fat? Good fat is good. You must have fat in your body. I mean, you don't want to have a body that don't have no fat. If you don't have fat, people will say you are AIDS. Did I just say that?
Oh my god.
But let Akim touch on that issue of this because we know what the Bible says about gluttony, right? It's closely linked to the sin of idolatry, right? But it's a growing trend in our society. You go out the blocks and you cook a pot of food and you eat a big bowl of food. You understand? Or you sit down and you just eat, or you go and buy a whole box of chicken. You understand? And you're right, Akim, in that in the next couple of years, the next generation is going to be burdened by some serious, expensive medical bills to care for their parents, you understand, or some relative who the burden falls on them. And the problem, what's going to happen in the society is that there's going to be a breakdown because people are going to be abandoning their relatives either at the hospitals or on the street, etc., because they can't care for them. So we have to start to respond to that.
Let me jump in. Now gluttony can be seen in two ways. You say gluttony in nutrition, we call it binging.
Binging, yeah.
Oftentimes we see binging in situations, and it doesn't just happen with senior persons. It happens with people who struggle with weight loss. As some persons, if you may not consume breakfast in the morning time, and generally when they get to afternoon
They
or
kill it.
afternoon, their hunger cues
Yeah.
are so strong that they eat past fullness, and they get to a place that the satiety cue, meaning that I've had enough, is so gentle that they're not mindful enough to pick it up. So they eat way past the amount that they would normally eat. Right? So that's one thing that's happening. Two, if you look at what our food, the way how our food has gotten to, it has gone to a place where a lot of what we eat is highly processed. So it means that if you look at white bread that was once a whole grain, it has gotten to a place where cornflakes or white bread is the food of choice for the day. So you have that in the morning for breakfast. The calories are going to be there; they're not going to change, but you find that is not going to keep you long, because the consistency of the food in the stomach determines how long it stays there. It can stay for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. If there's a nice blend of protein, fats, and carbs, you can live for about 3 hours, which is why if you have breakfast around 8 in the morning, 9, 10, 11 is when you're hungry. You start to kick up a little bit and you feel for a snack. Some people can go for lunch, right? It just depends. In doing that though, your calories are not going to change. They're going to keep going up, but you find that you're going to be hungry often, because that food is not good for satiety. And so again, we see a scenario where in the afternoon, people tend to eat past fullness because the hunger cues are strong. Two, but there's another additional issue where people use food as comfort. That is one of my area of challenge. Yeah, for real. In emotional situations, I tend to unawarely sometimes turn to food, and if I don't pick it up and catch myself on, I can get carried away. And so that's why awareness is key. Because what they have found is that some persons have a stronger reward sense to food than others. And so in emotional situations, whether it's whatever it is, it could be a breakup, it can be anything that's traumatic enough to kind of shift you. You can find that some persons will turn to food and they will overconsume, which is why I often believe in going at the root cause and dealing with it at its core. Because if we can fix the root problem, we can completely solve that. So that's the gluttony part. It's never always is a one size fit all. Two, it can be that we eat in front of the television and we eat more than we normally eat, because while our mind is engaged with the screen and is not paying attention to our satiety cue. So that's why I'm not a fan of people eating on their phones and looking at TVs. I don't think it's a good practice. We've gone away from having family conversations at the table and taking our time and chewing our food properly. And we've gone to everybody just eating in the room and on the device eating. That's not a great sign for us. The next one is this. The next one is that we overeat because we're generally not mindful. Generally. And so we have to get to a place where we overly mindful and we sit to experience our food. And so it doesn't have to be TV. It can be just engaging. When the fellas on the block and they're drinking and they over-consuming alcohol, the ability to self-regulate and say, okay, well, I've had enough, or that isn't there. And so it's a lime and it's a party. So everything else get carried away. And these are some of the reasons. But of course, every person has to understand what the individual reason is, be aware of it, and know how to manage it. Because we all have our different, what I call weaknesses. To the point of the weight loss. Whenever we lose weight, and that's why I say to people, we don't never want to lose weight. You want to lose fat. It's a big difference. Because whenever you lose weight or you do a weight loss journey, you automatically lose muscle mass. So you lose a certain percentage of fat, some water, and you lose muscle mass. And this is one of the challenging things, I used to post, and that's why sometimes people who are seniors, like over 60, I don't generally recommend any weight loss approach for them, because it's not always beneficial at that age. That's one of the issues when we see people start to get very, very, very small sometimes, because they do this, that yes, they want to lose the fat, but they're also losing muscle mass, which is now being called the only age reversible organ. So at any age you can develop muscle by spot training it. You can either build them and they can become functional. With fat, that's not the same case. Too much fat is never great for you, and that's what has been attempted at in the past with the BMI. But now we know that the BMI is not the best way of identifying fat, because if somebody is an athlete and a very muscular, they can come with a very high BMI, and the BMI, according to the BMI, they're obese and unhealthy. That's not necessarily the case, you know. So we tend to use body fat percentages and muscle mass to kind of give us a better gauge of overall health and well-being. So I kind of hope that answers the question with regards to the gluttony and the muscle mass versus fat and that kind of a thing.
Hakim, I think you may have missed a category on the gluttony side. Well, I'm not sure if it's gluttony, but I fall into that once. Maybe you might be able to explain.
Let's get that
my,
one.
my wife always have a good laugh with me on it. I really cannot watch TV at night. When I put it on, I'll TV end up watching me. But the only
Okay.
how I'll stay up watching, I have to
Right.
constantly keep eating. The moment I stop eat, I just fall asleep.
Yeah, Raja doing the eating and go and sleep.
Ah,
Raja boy.
But it's the only how I can stay up to look at the show.
right.
Yeah.
That's interesting
So,
one.
so I'm
Yeah.
always whether it's nuts or something, I just had to keep putting it in while I'm looking at. But what's the interesting part of this, Hakim? So I stayed up.
Right.
I was very successful at whatever I was doing.
Mhm.
And next morning, I
Mhm.
can hardly remember what I see. Right?
Ah, oh man.
I'm telling you, well, guys, listen. Let me take this opportunity to invite the people to our program, a walk coming up this Saturday, Walking with Hope Men. In particular, we are reaching out to you and we're saying to you, it's time to get
Bring the
active,
family.
men. Come and get active. Bring your family. You see, one man to lead by example. And too much times, you see the women taking the forefront and the men not even the present. Trevor could attest to this. The past two walks that we have, Roger, he working in the bank. I'm sure, Roger, when you look at the working population, you'll find most of the women being there and all excited and being, healthy and strong and so forth. You check what I'm saying? So, men, we encourage you to come out and walk. The time we're living is 4 p.m. on the dot, but you need to be there at least by 3:30. So, 3:30, 3:45 thereabouts, so we can get ready to move as soon as the time at 4 o'clock reach. You understand? And we just want to encourage men to make good choice, be active. I feel like these days are not very active, but nonetheless, I believe I'm trying my best with the food and thing. Yesterday, I went to a function, but whichever first time I see pot cooking so much. Watch man, Roger man, if you see pot, the people cook food, they brought food. I see about 6 pots went down, oil long soup, all kind of thing, and I say, you see me, I ain't getting caught up in that. You understand? So I eat a small portion of something. I wanna play a nice game of cricket. I run until my foot hurt me. And then when I burn it all out I eat, I go back and take a small cup of soup. I didn't binge at all, Hakim. I was mindful. You check what I'm saying? When I go for the oil long, I say just give me a small portion, please. And bring a little bowl overdo it. You check what I'm saying? And I remember it was the Christmas time we were doing this program. Tell the people Christmas come, don't overdo it. But don't let it just be Christmas time when food is in abundance in your house. Because some people just love to take the big plate. A man like you, Roger, you're sitting down in the office in the day in the AC and work. You don't need no set of starch. I recommend one spoonful of rice for you, my brother. You understand? 2 pieces of broccoli and some carrots and so forth, some lean meat and a lot of water. You'll be all
For,
right.
that- for that reason is why I rarely take the elevator. I use a step. I use a step all the time, and find a reason to walk to another department to talk to somebody rather than pick the phone up. And sometimes just take a walk downtown after lunch. Now I
Yeah,
deliberately do that,
so
Yeah.
get
right?
active, and
Yeah.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So you have to be active. We want men to get active.
What people, men have to know their body too. Like
True.
with me, I could tell you if I want to put on um a lot of weight right now, I know
Yeah.
what to do.
You know what to
All I
do.
have to do is just eat white bread. I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Me too.
and that
Still
thing
is.
will just blow me up like.
Blow you up. Bread and juice.
But once I
Trust me.
cut it out, and I cut the snack in the morning, and I
I like
just
it up.
replace it with water until I eat at lunch, I
Mhm.
just drop all the weight like.
You understand? And you have to know that. You hear that Godfrey Gray? You need to know what to eat so that the belly don't grow, bro. Partner again talk, don't worry. But one of my takeaways, something Trevor said that stuck with me, and I never thought about it like that. Because you could be eating a lot of imported food that you deem healthy, but just the way it was grown, how it grew, you understand? It becomes unhealthy. It looks healthy, but really and truly it doesn't have nothing much in it for your body. So I think we need to become intentional in terms of what we eat. Even the water that we drink, I pay attention down to that. Refined water versus spring water. I still read the label on the water bottle and decide which one is more healthier for me. Because some of them had nothing in it when you look at it. Yeah, it had nothing in it. Some just have a bit of salt. And that's
I
all.
I have a
Yeah.
question for not anyone
Mm,
because it's real. It's what's happened out there, right?
right.
Husband and wife, um, both are working, children going to school. Both husband and wife come home late in the evening,
Mm,
right? Having to prepare consistently every day lunch
mm,
um, can be a real challenge,
Yes, it
and
can.
then finding the right thing to buy around town is another issue.
mm.
How can we really manage this thing?
Well, as a man, I have children here. So let me
Sabi is
talk.
busy, Sabi is a busy guy. Let me hear how Sabi does do it. Sabi, tell
Yeah,
us.
as a man, I have children here. Well, for me, like I said, I try to give my children on a daily basis as much as possible. So if I can't make it 5 days a week, then at least they must have more healthy than what I would say they're unhealthy. Because when they go to school, in reality, they get some pizza or some kind of breaded hot dog or something like that. But let not be the everyday thing for my children. So I personally, I'm the chef in the house, right? So I cook. I get to choose what. My wife, she don't cook much, not because I don't want, not because she can't, but because I choose to cook more. I take that role over purposely so that I can have a
Talk
little
talk talk
control.
softly. Talk softly. My wife listening.
Don't worry about it. You're safe, Roger. Don't worry, you're safe. Yeah, so I took that role over because, again, I think for me, I'm health conscious, and I try my best to cut off all the rice as much as possible. I eat sweet potatoes instead. I choose certain things. I try to have a nice, healthy blend of the local stuff and introduce it to the children, right? Obviously, kids, they themselves, so my kids in particular, one of them will eat and they love to eat, so they eat anything, and one is very picky. And when you have a picky eater, it becomes really hard because sometimes you give them good food to go to school, and trust me, bro, that one come back home with everything, no matter what. You understand? And I'll say, boy, good food is really expensive, and I'm gonna pile up everything. The dog has to get it. You understand? Whereas you would have wished they would have been eating the food. You understand what I'm saying? So I think yes, it could be a challenge, but you have to be intentional. I think if you keep feeding and you keep feeding the same way, then I'm also aware that I'm creating a something what I would say a shift from what I used to get when I was younger, right? Because back then, rice was a thing, fried fish and fried jacks, you understand, was a thing. So I try to use my spices, my ginger, my cinnamon. I try to be a chef and ensure it's not just about the salt or the sweets in it. So you get good flavor from all the local spices that we have. You understand? And she laughing. She knows. Speak the truth, man. I mean, I tell you all there.
Eating sweet these days, man.
You understand? So what I'm saying is that we have to do the best we can. And yes, it's really costly, bro. I kid you not. I went to the supermarket this afternoon to make a little shop. 2 bags, a case of water, and $300.
Yep, yep,
You
yep, yep, yep.
understand? 10 apples, a pack of grapes, $20. But at the end of the day, as I say, boy, listen, I cannot eat more money. I could eat the food. I ain't saying I'm the most healthiest, and I doing it 100% up there. But I realized at one point in my life I had to make a choice, and I had to change. And I keep thinking, if my family tree, I'm a white family tree, if in our history there's a particular hereditary disease that is there, then when I feed in the children, I'm supposed to feed the children against that, and not feed them to aid that. And too many times people they aid in the sickness in terms of what they feed their family. Remember that you came from a family where you were fed a certain way, and they had certain things that they weren't aware of. So who's gonna make the change? You understand?
Yeah.
So it is a
What
challenge, but
what do you say to the men who are in a home where you have the man trying to make a healthy choice, but there's one pot cooking and it's not the best of the healthy choice that's being cooked.
start to
To
start
cook
to
another pot is more expensive,
learn to cook.
right?
Oh, yes, sir. God help your wife in the kitchen and tell her, baby, I want to try something special today. You understand?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe by the help of God,
But
I was
but 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 it's obviously saying that, I mean, in a family, when you make those choices, you cannot make it selfishly on
it could
your
be
on your
challenging.
own.
Yeah, it could be challenging.
Everybody have to know the path that you're on,
Yeah,
and you have to try to get others onto it too as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It could be challenging, but then when after a while the taste bud does adjust and they'll be like, Daddy, this thing tastes good. You know, when you introduce it and it's new, it's like, nah. But you have to find ways to work it, brother. You understand?
Mm.
So my wife taste bud has changed significantly. Our Sunday
Good.
meal is not like the typical Grenadian Sunday meal like back then.
Very
You know what
good.
it is, right? You know
So
it
that's
is
good.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, over there.
Macaroni pie
Macaroni
and big
pie
chicken,
and big
a potato
chicken
salad.
and yeah, you know what I mean? So but that had to become intentional until it become a norm for you. So if I can't find plenty time to exercise, that doesn't mean I should be eating for my belly to get big. If
Yeah.
I can, remember your first gym is your kitchen. For men who wants to readjust their health, your first gym is your kitchen. You understand? So if you ain't doing it right in the kitchen, you can go in the gym as hard as you want and beat up and sweat up. Bro, you ain't making
Yeah,
sense.
wasting time. Yeah. The spirit's still weak.
Shall give us the last words and then let me wrap up the program.
Yeah, well, I think Kim hit it on the nail on the head, man. This body God has given to you. First thing, it's a privilege to be alive.
Yeah,
It's a privilege that God has bestowed upon us to give us the breath of life.
that's right.
And if He has given us that privilege, we should take it very seriously and do the best to take care of, as Akim said, that piece of real estate He has given unto us.
Mhm.
You know, that's his temple, and we have a spiritual responsibility to keep it in good health. So the text is correct. Paul saying, I beseech you, I beg you, I desire above all else, he's saying, that you prosper and being good, that you're healthy. You are healthy in body and spirit and soul. So let's make an effort, as Justin has clearly outlined. He made a deliberate effort, and I show he's seen the spiritual benefits of that. So Richard, and those who are listening online, I think we have a good model here to follow. And as we engage other brothers and who we meet and we see they're having health challenge and say, bro, I encourage you to look at your diet, look at some of your practices, your eating habits, your hours, what you eat, etc., and try that. In fact, I would say I have, in interacting with people, I had a very good friend from the Bahamas. That guy told me he was so sick. He was so sick with his back problems. And, he said the last resort he had was to do a surgery on his back. And he said, I spent time in prayer. And he said, it came to me, just get up and go and walk. And he says, at first it was painful, but he says, after 3 weeks, after a month of walking, he said, my back problem gone, because the more I walk, the more upright I begin to walk. and upright. And he says, I have no back problem right now. So sometimes that we think this solution is so drastic and major, but it just needs a change in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, a change in some practice or habit you're doing. So God gives us wisdom. And Akim is right. We have so much knowledge and wisdom available, but it's one, making it available. And I think that we will have to do some more of these programs. And two is engaging people, engaging. So the health work will engage people, but of course, we want men to become, hey man, you've got to take charge of this thing that God has given you a responsibility for. So I speak a blessing over you guys. I really appreciate this discussion tonight. I see I have a colleague here from way back in the 80s. We went to school together. He's in the US and he says, I'm enjoying this program, you know. I'm enjoying this program. So God bless you, Eric. Thanks for listening, and big up to the brothers, man. I really enjoyed this program tonight with you all. Blessings.
Roger, what you putting in, boy?
Well, I mean, I think if we just understand that our bodies are not our own, it's the temple of God. That is enough to understand that you need to respect it and treat it with utmost care and attention. And unfortunately, a lot of us go around, you know, not understanding that or care not to. And we do all sorts of things with our bodies. It's not our own, right? It was given to us, and the scriptures are very clear. And we so that when we are healthy, right, we can be purposeful in God's kingdom and carry out our mission. We can't do it when we're ill, when we are bedridden, and so on, right? So it's my desire that men would understand that our bodies are not ours. It's not your own, right? And your ought is God's own, and you have to treat it with care. Just a little pun. Brother Trevor, you mentioned that, you know, back then, your father and mother and the grandfathers, they plant different crops at different times, you know, to restore, to get the soil restored and so on. I really thought my grandmother just was tired of planting something, you know. And say like, why this woman always changing crops? So she can't stick to something. She always going on to something else. But I see the wisdom in it.
I give it to you.
Well, I'll say this. I think it's important as we move forward for us to really see the priority. And I'm hearing it from everyone tonight, that the body is the most expensive human resource that we have. It's the most expensive real estate that we have, but we must believe that, because belief drives behavior. If we don't believe it, what we see is a lot of people who don't understand and acknowledge and believe in the importance of the human body, and we believe, what we believe is that life will just happen, and we believe that we can do whatever we want and good things, the body will just sort it itself. And that doesn't necessarily happen, because God expects us to be good stewards and to be accountable for that which He has given us authority to use for the time. So I really want to encourage persons. It doesn't mean that you're going to go from 0 to 100 real quick and get everything's correct, but it requires a start. I know this is cliche, but it's often said that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. And for that person, it might mean trying to add more vegetables in your day. For that person, it might mean cutting out all the extra beverages or sugar. It might mean cutting out all the extra pastries. It might mean really paying attention and being mindful. It might mean having family dinner and not having dinner in front of the TV. There's so many things that we can do, but we have to become purposeful about it. We have to know what we want out of life, and what example we want to set for our children, for our family, especially men. And we really want to know that we don't make careless decisions that are going to burden the people who love and care for us, and put them outside the way, you know, because then that's not really caring for people. So I think we have to be wise and make decisions not just for now, but for us in the long term. So it's quite important.
Yeah, well, definitely. Men, you are the leader in your house. You understand? If you're a man, God has, great expectation of you in terms of providing leadership. And it doesn't just go in terms of teaching your children to be all spiritually strong alone, but, it's balance. We started on balance and want us to understand balance is important. Yeah, you could you could take your child to walk or your children and your family to walk every afternoon, but then at the end of the day, you ain't teaching them nothing about God. Where is the balance? You understand? Then you want to stay up whole night as a family and watch TV. Daddy, you're setting a bad example. You don't know when they're going to go to bed and get some rest. If they learn how to rest, why you can't rest? Some men don't want to rest at all. They are in the workplace next day and every minute, you understand? They put in the computer screen because they sit up late in the night and looking at television. Brothers, you have to balance, you have to balance, you have to balance, you know? So, again, I want to say bless good night to everyone who were tuned in. We just take a moment and say hello to Ezra. She was on earlier, and Auntie Sylvina, Lady Sabi, my beautiful wife, and Eric, Trevor, brother, and Monty. Blessings to you, my brother, and everyone else who passed through. And, take a peep here, there, stay a minute or so, and go. At the end of the day, God bless everyone. So, fellas, good night. I know it's time for us to go and get some rest. You have to go tomorrow, God's spell life again. I'm looking forward to it Saturday. Raja, good to see you. You understand?
Yep.
Be
I'll
cheering
be
you.
there.
I'll be
I'll
cheering
be
you
there.
on the mic. You understand, Trevor? Trevor, don't worry. I'll take a video of your partner for you and send it. So
I think our next topic we have to deal with is
yeah.
men and hygiene.
And hygiene. Well, brother, some men don't realize the deodorant that they're using it, and not just that alone, but of course the height has outgrown it. So so it made it make a change. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I saw that. I saw that happened to me once. No joking. I
but
used
some
a particular deodorant,
simple
and I
thing.
realized this deodorant don't work in well. So I
Yeah,
had to try something else, and I tried something else, and it working well. Because maybe
yeah,
I don't know what happened. The thing used to work good, but and if I start to sweat differently, if I hit a certain age, or if when I get anxious or nervous, if I to sweat differently, you understand? I'm so aware of myself. So I'll be like, wifey, I find I smelling myself. And she'll be like, no, I ain't smelling nothing. I say, but I. So some men not even conscious of what going on with them. You understand? As a
yeah.
man, you need to put your nose down on it every now and then
Sa-
to make sure you're good. Right? No
Sabi, we
cheating.
need to
Yeah.
have a serious discussion on
Yeah.
that.
Oh Jesus.
Well, well, after all, I think next week we'll have this discussion, whichever. If
Yeah.
Roger Man is going there, we'll get
Yeah,
there. But,
yeah.
yeah. And Akim, we know food has a lot to do with how you smell sometimes. Most men don't even realize that. What they eat. They might be thinking it's really healthy and it is, but it does cause a certain odor to come from you. Anyway, guys, enjoy your night. We will catch up.
Blessings.
God's be
All
life.
right. And good night, Akim. Night,
Yeah, man.
Again,
Brother
Let's
blessings.
Trevor
Akim,
Sabi.
Akim,
Bye.
thank you, Akim. Hold on, real quick. And for those out there listening, if you need a nutritionist, because I would tell you this much, I say, Akim, you need to give us some advice. And he say, check Dr. Duncan. She's gonna give you better advice based on your situation. He was honest. And I did that, and trust me, I see some significant difference in my life. Just understanding what's going on in your body and making amends by way of what you eat can help you. So if you feel like you're struggling, Akim is with Gunida Food and Nutrition Council, and he talking about the clients and he goes here and there and so forth. You can always contact him. Akim, just tell us where your socials are and so forth.
All right.
Um, you know,
So you can find me on Facebook, Akim B. Williams. You can find me on Instagram, the Spice Isle Nutrition. That's THE Spice Isle Nutrition. It's one word. Instagram and Facebook.
right. And it's like that. Do you want anybody call you? You have a number?
All right. So if you want to get me, WhatsApp is available 456-3547. That's 456-3547. The Spice Isle Nutritionist.
You hear that? Spice man. He recommends some good spice food for you to eat. All right. Well, blessed night, brothers.
All right.
If we take on this conversation, all you know we stay here and talk until 12 o'clock. Yeah, easy thing. Oh, you know, you had to balance again. You see, even then you had to practice balance, eh, Shiva?
Yeah, man.
So, guys, blessings and good
Thank
night.
you. It's a pleasure.
Blessings. Good night.
Blessings.